I am the eater of worlds. I be the queenfish. Eee! All said by the Crimson King. So we've all had our discussion about Randall Flagg, and boy did that turn out to be a popular topic of choice. We've also talked about Andre Linoge and who might he actually be. Then there's the little palaver we had regarding Cy Leland Gaunt and what he truly was under the skin of the salesman he pretended to be. We've even gone on to find out more about Pennywise the Dancing Clown, the devourer of children in the tiny town of Derry, and the inhuman entity that called itself Tack, who could lay waste to entire towns and neighborhoods either by possessing people like a demon or simply warping reality in the nearby vicinity. Now though, I think it's time we discuss Stephen King's greatest villain of all. He has many names, of course, from the Lord of Spiders to Ram Abala, but most know him best as the Crimson King. Hi, hello, and welcome again everybody to another episode of Natural Juan. This time around we're going to discuss who is perhaps the greatest of all Stephen King villains, the man behind the monsters, or should I say, the monster behind the other monsters, the one and only Crimson King. Now before all that, I'd like to invite you all to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell for notifications. Special shout out too to Mr. Jonathan Green, my patron in Patreon. If you would also like to support my channel and what I do here, please check my PayPal, Patreon, and Gcash information in the description below. Alright, with all that out of the way, come with me now and watch your step as we learn more about the Crimson King. To put it bluntly, the Crimson King could be best described as the enemy of all existence. He seeks nothing more than the total destruction of the Dark Tower, which can only lead to the destruction of all known universes. He does not care about the countless living things that live in all these universes, only that they should perish along with the worlds that they dwell on. In its place, in the chaotic void that existed before the multiverse came forth, the Crimson King intends to build his own kingdom in his own image. The Crimson King is also believed to be trapped within the Dark Tower itself, adding another reason as to why he wants to destroy the linchpin that holds all worlds together. However, it is also believed that the Crimson King is also able to manifest multiple versions of himself outside the tower, similar to an avatar of sorts, or that he can divide himself into many shards of himself that he can send out to other places to cause chaos and calamity. Another common belief, but one that is also often called into question, is that he is an entity as old and as possibly even as powerful as Gan or God, at least of Stephen King's works. However, the reason many question this is because his power appears to be greatly limited, especially in the 7th Dark Tower novel. There is also the fact that he lacks any omnipotence, and even relies on finding 13 crystal balls, I kid you not, used by his servants in order for them to gain intel on their possible opponents and things that could be useful to them. Even their over-reliance on servants like Randall Flagg, who actually does most of the dirty work, is probably just more evidence that the Crimson King isn't as powerful as he and his servants seem to think. That said, he is still a seemingly very powerful entity of godlike, or at least godlike levels. For one thing, he is certainly behind many of Randall Flagg's many schemes and is likely the one powering his profane magic to begin with. It was his influence that brought to power evil, barbaric men like John Farson and destroyed all traces of civilization in Midworld. It is also implied that it was through Merlin, who served him at the time, that deceived the extremely advanced Great Old Ones to use their technology to replace the ancient magic that sustained the world, causing even more havoc. He was also said to be directly responsible for the many disasters and horrors that happened in Derry in the novel Insomnia, though the version of him in that book was much more eldritch and was more likely the godlike version of him that is imprisoned in the Dark Tower itself. The Crimson King was also the being responsible for the building of the big combination in the novel Black House, co-written by Peter Straub, a machine of terrible purpose and powered by uncountable slave children. It is safe to say then that the theory regarding the Crimson King having multiple shards or avatars could be true, and the undead madman Roland is forced to fight when he reaches a dark tower is the severely weakened version of himself. But then, many ask, where did the Crimson King come from? Is he truly as old as he claims to be? Why did he come to be the way he is? Also, why does he have such an annoying scream? To the first question, there are actually two prevailing theories. The first, of course, is that he came from a time when time itself didn't even exist yet, a chaotic void, which is called the Prim. It is from the Prim that Gan, or God, created the multiverse, bringing forth universes and worlds beyond counting. As told by the succubus Mia, there were many beings in the Prim that thrived before but found that they could not survive in the worlds that Gan had made. The Crimson King, much like Mia, was one of these beings that could somehow survive in this new reality. However, unlike Mia, the Crimson King was much more powerful and thus rebuilt his empire from people and places he could subjugate. This also leads one to assume that he wants to destroy all creation so that he can return it to what it once was, where beings like him can thrive once more. The second, which actually comes from the Marvel Comics adaptation of The Dark Tower rather than the books written by Stephen King, but which I think is more believable and one that I'd actually support. I mean, heck, people actually gripe about the adaptation of Marnius Calgar's story, but I like it just fine. Take that as you will. Anyway, based on the comics, the Crimson King is actually born from a union between a mortal but divinely touched man and the demonic entity of the Prim, therefore making him more of a hybrid and is a better explanation as to how he can survive in this world as it is. The first one is none other than Arthur Eld, the great king that forged the affiliation of baronies and brought peace and order to Midworld after the dangers and calamities wrought by the Old Ones through their malfunctioning technologies, and who also happens to be the direct ancestor of Roland Deschain, the second being known simply as the Crimson Queen, a foul demonic spider with godlike powers that can take on the form of a beautiful woman, and was indeed a child of the Prim, and was purer in that regard than the Crimson King himself. Needless to say, the Crimson Queen slew Arthur Eld once her son had been conceived, and the conflict between the gunslingers of Gilead and the forces that seek to topple the Dark Tower began. As for why he shrieks like that, I don't know. It's just really annoying, I guess. I mean, eee! Anyway, another annoying thing about the character is how he meets his demise in the final book of the Dark Tower series. Many found the Crimson King's demise in the novels anticlimactic at best, and downright insulting at worst. For those not in the know, and major spoilers here for those out there who don't know about this part, Roland Deschain manages to best the Crimson King himself, who is nothing more than a shrieking madman by this point who can only hurl flying bombs and scream annoyingly at the gunslinger, with the help of a young man who can literally rewrite reality. And, just in case you didn't know, this young man is none other than Patrick Danville, the young and talented boy from Insomnia, whose very drawings can alter the world around him. Using Patrick Danville's ability to recreate everything around him, and sorry, I'm not going to spoil how he finds himself into Roland's world and how they meet him, to literally erase the Crimson King from reality itself. In the end, all that's left of the dreaded tyrant who threatened all of reality and who ruled over Castle Discordia and its surroundings with an iron fist is his red eyeballs and his consciousness which seems to animate them. A rather undignified end for such a dreaded villain, wouldn't you agree? However, what some miss is this could be because of a number of factors that occurred in a lot of Stephen King's other works. While this is mostly just me going out on a limb here, while the Crimson King might likely have been a godlike entity, He imbued much of his powers into the things he created, much like a certain Dark Lord from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Things like the big combination in Black House and Al Ghul Siento, where the Breakers, the psychic children forced to destroy the mystical beams that hold up the Dark Tower, are kept, are two such places and were both destroyed. The former at the hands of Jack Sawyer and his companions in Black House, and the latter by Roland and his catet or party. This was likely what led to the Crimson King being so severely weakened and maddened that he became a minuscule shadow of the godlike monstrosity he once was. All in all, while I can accept the explanation for his sudden weakening, I was also one of those disappointed in how the final confrontation with the character turned out. I mean, it ended the way Stephen King wanted it to end, but I was hoping for at least an epic confrontation with the Crimson King before the novel series ended. Perhaps the Crimson King could have appeared as a hideous giant spider, or maybe some sort of 8 to 9 feet tall knight in blood red armor like something out of a Dark Souls game. Maybe even a combination of the two. A knight in blood red armor riding atop a giant spider. Well guys, sorry I've been gone for a while. I've been really busy recently and couldn't find much time to vlog. I was planning to make additional videos during the week, but after taking my booster shot and getting sick due to the side effect for a while, it was delayed even further. No matter, as I do have a lot of content planned for my next videos. We'll be taking a deeper look into the works of Clive Barker for one. Also, I did promise to make a video about the anime Naruto. Another thing is that we'll be soon revisiting Warhammer 40,000, as I've been planning to do that for some time now. Lastly, I'll be revealing a lot more about my own works that are in the works, including that of The Devil's Shortcut and The Black Storm. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Natural Juan. If you'd like to see more content like this, please feel free to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell for notifications. If you would like to support my channel and what I do here, please check out my PayPal, Patreon, and GCash information in the description below. Natural Juan, out.